Hi, and welcome to my crafting studio. My name is Julie, and today I'm really excited to show you how you can create a beautiful vintage inspired card with just a few basic materials. The exciting thing is that this particular style works for any size card, and we won't need to measure anything today. For this project, you will need a card base in whatever size and color you choose. Mine is a white cardstock 5x7-inch card. If you're new to paper crafting, I would highly recommend buying pre-cut cards and envelopes, and you can find those at any craft store. You'll also need scrapbook paper in whatever style you like. I'm using a paper pad by Stamperia called Orchids and Cats. I will also be using a floral paper from another scrapbook pad that I bought at my local craft store. You will need a pair of scissors for this project. I'm using my Cutterbee scissors because they're really great for precision. And I will also be using a pair of scalloped scissors. The glue I'm using for adhering the paper is Elmer's craft glue stick. I'm also using a hot glue gun for the embellishments. I'm using lace and ribbon, but you can use whatever you'd like. I will be using a pair of fabric scissors to cut my lace and my ribbon, but if you don't have one of these, you can just use an old pair of scissors that you don't mind getting dull. Now let's get started. First, I'm going to look through my scrapbook paper and find something that inspires me. For this card, I'm looking for 2 complementary papers for the background and 1 main element that will be the focal point of my card. To make things easy today, we're going to cut out the paper we want from the corners, so I'm especially looking at the paper designs around the corners. I absolutely love this little cat, so I'm going to use that as my main element on my card. So I'm going to cut that out, and then I'm going to look for complementary colors to use for the background. Because the theme of this particular paper pad is pink and green, and that's also the colors that are in my image that I chose, I'm going to pick 1 pink paper and 1 green paper to use to bring out the colors in my focal point. I chose this floral from another scrapbook pad that I had, and I decided to use this green. Because the bottom of my focal point has more pink than green, I'm going to use green on the bottom of the card, and I'm going to use pink towards the top of the card. Once you've chosen your colors for the background, you're going to take your scalloped scissors, and we are going to cut one of the colors we have chosen until it covers about half of the card diagonally. I would recommend cutting off a little more than you think you need because you can always trim it down later. Now we're going to do the same exact thing with the other paper that we've chosen. We're going to cut with our scallop scissors a little more than we think we need because we're not sure yet which color we want to have on the top. The idea is that we want these colors to meet somewhere in the middle, and then we're going to place our focal point somewhere in the middle as well. Now's the part where we just play and we see which color we want on top of which color, where exactly would we like our focal point, do we need to cut off more from the background, etc. As I'm looking, I'm realizing I have a little too much pink, and so I'm going to use my scallop scissors again and just trim a little bit of the excess off. Once you're happy with the arrangement for your card, you're going to start gluing down the background pieces. You're going to start with the layer that you want on the bottom. I'm using my craft bond glue stick because I find it's a little easier to move the pieces around if you mess up. So you're just going to add your glue to the sides, to the middle, especially where you cut with the scallop scissors, all those edges, because they have a tendency to pull up off the card. With your card held open, you're going to place the paper right next to the center line of the card, and then you're going to press down on all the corners and all the edges. To remove any excess paper, you're simply going to turn your card over, take your scissors, and you're going to try to cut as close as you can to the card without cutting into the card. always keep my leftover scraps for another project, and now is a good time to check and make sure that your paper is sticking to your card. If there's any areas that seem to be raising off the card, you can simply lift them and add a little more glue. Once you're happy with the bottom layer of your card, it's time to do the same exact thing with the top layer. Once I'm happy with the placement of my second layer, I'm going to flip over my card and just check if there's any paper hanging off over the side. If there is, I'm going to take my scissors and just try to cut in a straight line as close to the card as I can without cutting into the card. And now it's time to put our focal point onto the card. You're simply going to flip it over and place glue all over the back. You're going to place it on your card, and then you're going to push on top of your focal point. Now it's time to embellish your card. You can use whatever you'd like for this, but I'm going to play around with a couple different colors of ribbon to see what I like best, and I'm also going to play around with some different types of lace. This ribbon is very feminine and soft and light, and I just love it so much, so I'm going to use this on my card. I'm just going to tie it into a simple bow, and then I'm going to figure out the placement of it on my card. I think it looks really cute off to the side like that. So now I'm just going to cut off the excess of the ribbon that I don't want. Now it's time to hot glue my ribbon to my card. I'm just going to add a dollop to the back of the ribbon right where it would touch the card, and I'm going to press down. I've chosen some lace for my card, and I've decided to put it along the bottom of my card. I'm going to hold the lace up to my card and cut more than I think I need. I'm going to take my hot glue gun and add a very thin layer of glue right on the line on my lace. I'm pressing down on the lace to help it stick to the card, and it's right about now when I realized I put too much glue on one area of the lace. There was a big chunk of hot glue, so I tried to remove it and I actually damaged the card. I was super disappointed and I realized I couldn't fix it, so I added more hot glue just to keep the lace onto the card, and I started thinking of a way to cover it. Just like we flipped the card earlier to cut off the excess paper, we're going to do the same thing and cut off the excess lace. To hide my mistake, I grabbed these wax seal stamp stickers that I got at Dollar Tree. They matched perfectly. I couldn't believe it that I got so lucky. And I picked a light pink one, and it actually covered it perfectly. Mistakes like this happen during crafting all the time, and you just gotta learn to roll with it. I'm just gonna add some hot glue to reinforce the wax seal stamp because I'd hate for it to fall off once I give this card to somebody. And that's it! Our card is finished! Thank you so much for crafting with me today, and I would love to hear from you. Any questions you might have and your experience making this card. Until next time!